Jim Curran is a community volunteer. He likes water sports and a religious nomad who believes coincidences lead you to your purpose in life. Welcome, Jim.
Before I get started, I just want to extend a huge thanks to Brad and Beth Gray for their support and encouragement. Before a few months ago, the extent of my public speaking career began and ended with my public school speech about my grade 5 public school speech about my sister. 30 something, 40 years ago, and then now I find myself standing in front of a crowd with 6 pages of words. Good morning, and thank you for gifting me the opportunity to speak to you today. I carefully chose the word gift because as we age, time becomes more precious to us. I hope my story is worthy of your time. If not, I promise a full refund. Passion is defined as a strong or powerful emotion. None of you knew young Jimmy. He was full of one emotion, anger. It's incredibly powerful how it can be used to both create and destroy. Young Jimmy could be considered a little stubborn, a little difficult, a bad kid. Was he born bad? If you asked his teachers, that would probably be a unanimous yes. He was neatly placed in the front of each classroom where they could keep a close eye on him. In order for them to be able to teach all of the students, they had to walk past Jimmy, which gave him the opportunity to flick pieces of his eraser all over the class. The leverage he could achieve using his ruler sent those pieces across the class with the speed of a major league pitcher. To be honest, he was really good at causing trouble, but eventually every crook gets caught. After you get caught so many times by so many different teachers, you become known as a troublemaker. Writing lines, missing recess, tied to the principal at the hip, those were just some of the normal punishments. The teachers probably felt like those were the right things to do to straighten out a bad child who just wouldn't listen. To Jimmy, it was just another challenge to overcome in his day. He was very passionate in using that time to figure out another way to annoy the teacher and get his revenge for those punishments. Maybe that's where his passion started. He was always disappointed in his teachers prejudging him, innocent or guilty. The feeling of always being the one getting blamed can best be described as shame. The reason he chose shame, not disappointment, was because after repeated disappointments, you no longer feel that you just disappoint people. You start to identify as a disappointment, which for Jimmy was shameful. People never forget how you make them feel. Jimmy learned that lesson in grade 4, and it helped to shape his passion and his purpose in life. It can start with a smile, a kind word of encouragement, or just an acknowledgement, each having a profound and lasting effect on the person it's directed at. For someone who was so used to being a disappointment, when Jimmy was treated with kindness and respect, he became a different person. He transformed all of a sudden. He stopped acting up, only chose acts of kindness. He became a complete angel. Well, not exactly. See, he still had to fulfill his passion for causing at least a little trouble each day. Let's just say he was more thoughtful and empathetic in his approach. So how exactly did he transform? Before I can answer that, we need to talk about coincidences. Are they real, perceived, or completely irrelevant? After reading a book on coincidence, I believe it's hard to overlook the way things unfold in life. The more you pay attention to them, your awareness seems to increase. Maybe by being aware, one believes more in coincidence. I've had far too many coincidences occur at just the right moment in my life to overlook their significance. When I was 9 and in grade 4, I met someone that changed and shaped my journey in life. You know her as Mary Marg. I know her as Mrs. Gibson, the teacher that treated me with kindness and respect. I hadn't seen her in over 30 years, yet I attend my first Unitarian service on Sunday, March 24th, and there she is. There are times when I wasn't sure if I had chosen a useful path in life. I've always followed my gut and looked for signs of assurance. If they came, I'd hold course. If they didn't, it was time to steer the ship in a different direction. Seeing her was definitely the assurance that quitting my job at Nova and starting on a path of fulfillment through volunteering was the right direction. That was no coincidence. She was the kindest woman I had ever met, and I'm forever grateful for how she treated me. For a bad kid who was capable of being kind, feeling the kindness she projected on me made me want to be a different person. Remember, people will never forget how you make them feel. So from there grew my passion for understanding people. See, it's truly listening to understand, do you get to really know someone. Get to feel their story come alive and get to feel their emotions as they tell their stories. In order to appreciate who they are today, it helps to understand who they were and how they got there. My kids will tell you that Dad just talks to everyone. He knows everyone. Nothing is ever quick or easy anywhere we go. Anyone who journeys with me would agree. I can't resist getting to know people. That's because I know my passion. Purpose is the object toward which one strives or for which something exists. When you find your purpose, your passion ignites inside you. I was incredibly fortunate to work with some great leaders at Nova who believed in me and were truly focused on my development. When I started at Nova in 2011, I began working in the rail yard. I progressed and I climbed the corporate ladder as one does. I took over for my boss, running the rail department. I spent 2 years working on continuous improvement teams, and I ended my career as a team leader in maintenance. In 2020, I was gifted the opportunity to work with highly qualified coaching consultants and spend an incredible amount of time with them. Coaching focuses on the player, not the problem. They don't solve your problems. They help you gain a clearer perspective, a better understanding of your situation. And it's through this understanding that you reflect and change. For Christmas in 2021, my boss Brian gave me a book called Find Your Why by Simon Sinek. I loved Simon's work and immediately read that book. It wasn't a coincidence that the work I was doing at the time was focused on self, or that Brian handed me that book. I truly believe he never intended on giving me that book to enhance my career. He knew it would change my life, and it did in the best way possible. So how do you thank a boss for a gift like that? How do you thank a boss who gifted you the opportunity to move from working in rail to leadership to working with plant managers and corporate executives? Well, you quit. You quit because you found your purpose and your boss helped you to get there. People say quitting isn't easy. Well, let me tell you, it is. When you have a family that trusts and supports you, anything is possible. I bought a small Airbnb in Port Franks and continued with property management here in Sarnia that I had been doing for years. I was raised in a frugal household, so the transition from Nova to self-employment was quite easy. My kids are happy with Kraft dinner and Mr. Noodles for dinner, and my wife mostly eats popcorn for dinner. Quitting provided me the opportunity to trade money for time. For me, it's the most important thing I can share and give to others. My purpose is to connect with people. I feel like that sounds pretty simple, and I should try and wordsmith it into something deeper. I know there's no need to do that because the connections that I create are incredibly deep. The hardest and most important part is to keep it to just that, the intent to just connect. I'm not trying to change people, just trying to understand them and build relationships. I impact the lives of those I spend time with, and they impact mine. That's what I do, but how I do it is more important. I do it through a genuine love for people. I connect with people by actively listening, knowing them by name, and appreciating who they are. It starts with an act of kindness. Remember that saying, kill them with kindness? Well, no need to kill them, but starting with kindness is a good point. That can be as simple as a smile, a compliment, or recognizing something about them that's unique. I'm a genuinely curious person, so asking questions comes quite naturally to me. Even shy people will open up when you ask about the concert shirt they're wearing or the book they're holding in their hand. Conversations don't always flow, and that's just fine. A smile and sharing what a beautiful day it is can be a great place to both begin and end. In a conversation with a friend a week ago that does outreach work with the homeless in our community, she told me that she keeps notes on everyone she meets, including me, and calls me the connection. When she reaches out, she knows I can connect her with the right supports, or I know someone who can. There are too many coincidences in my life that lead to connections with people. I told you I quit my job, and honestly, I've never been happier. It's not that I wasn't happy, I wasn't fulfilled. Tony Dungy, retired and respected head coach from the Indianapolis Colts, said, "If we lose sight of people, we lose sight of the purpose of leadership." Volunteering is about giving with no expectation of receiving anything in return for a purpose you believe in. For me, the value of people leads my path of volunteering in the community. It's a way to live my values with others that share those same values. I started by volunteering at Habitat Sarnia-Lambton on their board of directors. I know that a house is more than just the four walls that encompasses it, and more than just a place to rest your head at night. It's a place where memories are created, where families watch children grow up, and a place that provides the stability that families depend on. As a kid, I remember building forts with couch cushions, creating a home within a home, a place of my own, a place I could play and feel safe. Habitat's mission of everyone having a safe and decent place to live is one I believe in. I'm personally moved by their model of bringing volunteers and communities together and creating homeowners. Complete strangers donate their time and hard work building homes so that others can share in the experience of home ownership. Imagine attending a key handover ceremony where families who have dreamed of owning a home, and you're there to witness their dreams come true. Families that have invested time and sweat equity in building their homes. That's a moment that will truly touch your heart. For those of you who aren't familiar with Nightlight, it's a multi-denominational Christian ministry that operates a drop-in center on Christina Street. Before I started volunteering there, I listened to Murray and Gwen, the executive directors, share how Nightlight was addressing relational poverty in our community by offering a safe place to build meaningful relationships. Their story was moving, and it tugged at my heart by humanizing the experiences of the most marginalized in our community. What it left me wondering, and I needed to understand, was how relational poverty was more important to someone experiencing homelessness when I thought the most important thing was shelter, food, and clothing, the basics of survival. I couldn't have been more wrong. By spending time with our guests, listening to understand, and getting to know them as people, it became easier to see how little I actually knew. Nightlight's mission is mobilizing people to overcome exclusion through life-giving relational communities. That's one I believe in too. I'd like to share a story with you about a friend from Nightlight. He's only a handful of years younger than me, and we have kids the same age. We live completely different lives, yet at Nightlight, we connect like we've known each other our entire lives. One afternoon, while we were chatting, he changed the conversation and got curious about me. I had lost a friend to addiction that morning and shared the story with him. The story touched him because of his addictions and his experience of loss in life. He pulled a cross from his pocket and he handed it to me. He told me that he wanted me to have it, to have something that has helped him through loss and to know that God is with us in times of loss. A man who is homeless handed me the most valuable thing he owns because he believed it would help me in a time of need. That's a moment that will touch your heart. The cross stays on the front of my bike where everyone can see it to honor that gift that he gave to me. Not much happens in communities without volunteers. Every event you attend, from the Mackinac Bridge Race to the fancy gala dinners in your community, are supported by the work of volunteers. What I love about volunteering is when those you are serving thank you. If they only knew how truly fulfilling it is, they would hear that silent reply in my head, "No, thank you. Without you, I have no one to serve. We need each other." That reply isn't always a silent one. It's important to let them know that. I continued to volunteer with other organizations like the Divine Mercy Free Store, the Salvation Army, and the Coast Guard. Like a retiree, I soon began to wonder how I ever had time in my life for a career. It wasn't about the number of places I supported. It was about the fulfillment from each experience. Each one gave me an opportunity to connect, to build relationships, and to share what was shared with me, kindness. The world becomes a better place when we choose kindness, empathy, and love. It's no coincidence that I fell in love and married a teacher, one whose values elevate children and always put them first, one who believes in them and values how she makes them feel. I'm living proof that one person can truly make a difference in someone's life, and I'm forever grateful to Miss Gibson for being that person for me. I will continue to pay it forward through my passion for understanding people and my purpose of connecting with them. If it wasn't for having two amazing teachers in my life, I'd still be flinging erasers somewhere. Thank you.